Hey, that lawyer ever get back to you with the answer to that complicated question?
No, he didn't have to. I got the answer on the web.
You know if those invitations are ready for the Digital Duo picnic?
Yep, they're being sent out over the web.
Oh, well, do you have that story I need on a floppy disk?
No, I stored it on the web.
Is there anything you don't do on the web?
Well, not much when you're living the Vita Webba.
Walt Mossberg will live it up too.
On this edition of Digital Duo.
Digital Duo is brought to you by E-Trade is a proud sponsor of Digital Duo.
For when life turns digital. J&R Music and Computer World, home of over 300,000 consumer electronics, computer, and home entertainment products.
I'm Steve Manis, columnist for Forbes magazine and PC World.
I'm Susan Gregory Thomas, nationally syndicated newspaper columnist. And whenever I want to know the answer to some practical question I can't answer myself, the first thought that pops into my lazy head is, do I know anyone who could just tell me? I mean, I'm not talking major life or death issues here, just the kind of questions a savvy person would know the answers to right away. Stuff like, what are the best books on gardening in New York City? Or how do I get my music from my records into my PC? Now, unfortunately, none of my friends knows the answers to these questions, but there is a network of people on the net who say they do.
Yeah, they're the so-called experts who volunteered to be on call at these so-called expert sites on the web. And a lot of these experts in these sites are piling up. There's expertcentral.com, exp.com, keen.com, askme.com, nopost.com, abuzz.com, deja.com. And if you didn't have time to write all that down, don't worry, we've got it all written down for you on the Digital Duo website.
Now, the splash pages of these expert sites look very similar to those of portals like Yahoo and Alta Vista. There are topic categories ranging from auto and motoring to science and technology, but expert sites are different from portals in that they're managed by ordinary folk who claim authority in a certain field because they have life experience or professional experience in it.
Meaning anybody's mother could call herself a parenting expert.
And that's one good reason to run screaming, parents. Look at how I turned out.
Yeah, I'll have to check out these sites and see what your mom has to say about the teen years. What did you say her name was?
Nettie or beeswax. But seriously, that's one end of the gradient scale. On the other end, they're retired judges who may offer legal advice for free. Now, that's the kind of advice we're all looking for at some point.
Yeah, particularly if we don't have lawyer friends we can sponge off of at parties.
Right.
Anyhow, this web thing is perfect for other people's ego gratification. If you say you're an expert, hey, there's a site that would be happy to have you come pontificate. Of course, the question is, does that actually make you an expert?
Well, I'll tell you, I am very leery of people who call themselves experts, period. But on most of the sites, everyone has this bio, so you can decide for yourself who sounds the most authoritative. But then again, I'm sure that a lot of these bios are fluff to the hilt.
Yeah, and some of them are like incomprehensible. I was looking for info on roofing, and I found this guy who declared himself a certified husband, father, grandfather, carpenter, and a training specialist with the criminally insane. Hey, all I wanted to know is, does this guy know a shingle from a shake?
It's a multi-talented expert.
Absolutely. But at least there's a kind of checks and balances system built in, because after you get the advice, you get to rate how valuable it is, and the experts get their ratings posted on the site, so you can sort of steer clear of that genius who only gets 1 out of 5 stars, and you can generally see how long it takes each expert to turn around a question and how many questions she or he has actually answered. And you can sometimes read their answers to past questions to get a sense of how much they know. And you may even get lucky and find an answer to a question you were already about to ask.
Yeah, well, for a fair test, I asked questions that I more or less knew the answers to, and I asked them of all of the major sites. And results were varied, to say the least. I mean, my first question was about what constitutes felony murder. Now, Let's just say someone is passed out from drugs in the front seat of a drug dealer's car while a murder is taking place. Now, could she be charged with felony murder? And if the judge did not consider her a threat to society, could she serve time in in-house detention instead of prison?
Wait a minute, why were you interested in this?
Oh, for my screenplay.
Oh, glad to hear we're not losing you to a Colombian drug cartel. And did the experts give you the right answer?
Well, I gotta tell you, the speediest, most complete, and most accurate answer came from Expert Central. The expert was this guy, Jack 212, who identified himself as a retired police officer with like 26 years of experience working in homicide, sex crimes, runaway investigations, missing persons fraud. I mean, this is a knowledgeable guy.
No wonder he retired, yeah.
Anyway, well, he told me that first of all, whether or not she could get slapped with felony murder depended on which state she lived, and that's true. Then he said that if she'd just done drugs but wasn't actually dealing them, then she could get a misdemeanor and very likely serve time in-house detention. Now, that's just the kind of information that I needed to make my character more believable, and Jack 212 saved me a lot of time and money that I could have spent on my lawyer.
Yeah, I like the Expert Central site a lot too, but I found myself wishing they would let you send your question to, say, 3 experts at a time or more, since you really don't know who's going to respond. And at AskMe.com, you can do that.
Well, NoPost takes that idea to the extreme, and I have to say that I found it least helpful for that very reason. I mean, at NoPost, instead of posting your question to a single expert, you post it to a message board, and then any old guy who thinks that they know something about the subject can pile on with their opinion. I mean, I had people arguing about my question. That is not helpful to me, even if it is free. It's just not worth the time. But there is at least one expert site that does charge money. It's exp.com.
Yeah, and the idea there, right, is you pose your question to an expert who comes back with a proposal for how she'd answer and a suggested price for that answer. I mean, I looked at that one, but they didn't have a special roofing category, and frankly, I was too cheap to try it.
Well, I tried it, and I went back and forth with a guy at exp.com for 5 days, and I ended up getting the same answer from the Expert Central guy, you know, for free, but I paid the EXP guy $15.
$15. What was this $15 question?
Well, I asked the guy at exp.com how to get tracks from my LPs into my PC.
For $15?
Well, yeah, I wanted to see how good the answer was. So the guy at exp.com wanted to charge me not only for his advice, but also for the key to the software that he recommended. I mean, I'm not even sure if that's legal. Yellow Chris at expertcentral.com gave me play-by-play instructions on how to do this within 6 hours, and his answer, I happen to know, is correct. It was very helpful.
Yeah, and I think there are other limits here. I hope people aren't going to ask these folksy experts something critical, such as, I just poked a nail through my foot, what should I do? And then wait 8 hours for an answer. There are still some things that La Vida Weba is not meant to handle.
In the olden days, party hosts would send out handwritten invitations to dinner parties or other social events, or make a phone call to ask guests personally. Now, a whole new kind of partying is going down, e-partying. No, I'm not talking about grabbing a cocktail and heading for your favorite chat room. I'm talking about planning your real-life party on the web.
Services like Evite, My Events, Mambo, and Event 411 are all designed to help people organize events by emailing digital invitations and storing the planning information on the web. Hosts log onto a site, key in the type of party they're planning, and specify the where, why, and how of the event, and then the email addresses of the invitees. And then the invitation, sometimes a very corny-looking one, flies across the internet to the lucky few.
But wait, there's more. Online party planning services all have programmable options that let hosts allow guests to bring friends, but also post the maximum number headroom to cut down on overcrowding. Hosts can also decide whether or not to display the guest list and RSVP status so that everybody can see who's coming. And if it's a potluck, guests can choose from a list of dishes that is automatically updated when someone commits to bringing one. Or guests can give their food preferences so hosts know what to prepare. How thoughtful of them.
Yeah, I have just 3 words for the kinds of people who would do that. Tofu, tofu, tofu.
Or fish haters.
And of course, if you're what we used to call a nudge, you can have the software send reminders shortly before the party. And at Mambo and My Events, hosts can even set up a message board so their guests can gossip about the party beforehand. How nice. I mean, you can even charge money for the event. Partygoers can enter their credit card data and the site cuts the host a check.
You know, I guess my Puritan constitution is a little bit frail here, but I mean, as I tested these sites, I found myself growing faint from the sheer presumptuousness and downright rudeness of the whole concept. I mean, Good God, isn't it the job of a host to hide the planning headaches from guests? I mean, shouldn't the guests be gracious enough to at least sample the dishes that the hosts have prepared?
Well, I draw the line at Jell-O mold, I'll tell you.
Look, if you want to choose your own dish, go out to a restaurant, you jerk. And why would I want to show my guests the RSVP status of other invitees? I mean, are my friends so incredibly vulgar that they would decide, like, not to come to my party if so-and-so wasn't going to be able to make it? I mean, somebody get me Miss Manners.
Ooh, I guess you're on my invite by phone
No kidding.
list. I mean, you're right. I can't imagine using this for a dinner party, though I know people who have and have sent me invitations that way. I think where it really would come in handy is for organizing a big gathering, like a school fair or a reunion or an organization picnic where the host inevitably gets stuck with a ton of this kind of grunt work. And I'll tell you, the idea of being able to collect money up front instead of having to pass the hat from a bunch of deadbeats strikes me as really useful.
Well, okay. I mean, I agree. That's probably true. I mean, still, there's something very Silicon Valley-centric about this whole deal. I mean, for one, it assumes that everybody on the guest list has an email account. I mean, if I was depending on one of these sites to get that word out about a dinner party I was going to have on Saturday for 10 of my closest friends in New York, I'll bet you that half of them at best would show. I mean, the others just don't have email access, or they check it only when they think about it.
Yeah, maybe, but what if you were organizing like a Little League team's field trip to a big league ball game? I mean, if you bought the tickets, wouldn't it be kind of helpful to get paid back online?
Gee, you know what? What did we ever do before the web? Oh, the inconvenience of having to keep track of who paid you back by keeping a paper list. Mercy.
Apparently your friends are more responsible than mine. Well, let's see what our staffers found out when they went to a journalism fellowship reunion that used evite to round up people from across the country. La Vida Weba on Old Cape Cod.
Evite works pretty well for setting up the reunion. It just meant that everyone could look at it and get stuff off of it and print out directions. And I didn't have 12 people calling me all the time saying, what were those directions again? I lost them.
I thought it was pretty good, especially for family reunions. I had another family reunion just before this, and I think it would have made things a lot easier for us.
We had about 10 people all over the country and the world, and I never talked to anybody on the phone. I just did it all electronically.
Having this bulletin board that's accessible from any point on the planet served the fellows pretty well. The only limitation is that you can't have private back-channel conversations with people, which are sometimes needed to make things run smoothly.
The best part of the system is just the fun of putting it on the website and watching people respond at random times. I'd recommend it and use it again.
Well, it seems like the host liked it anyway.
Yeah, but I think that my point is still valid. It lacks the personal touch that's part of party planning. There are just some things you can't put in an email.
Nightmare work scenario. You're on a business trip and have a major presentation to give tomorrow. You get into your hotel room and you discover your handout is not on your laptop.
Nightmare work scenario number 2. You drive the 16 hours up to Maine for a working vacation. You relax, get ready to put in your 2-hour workday, only to discover that you brought your zip disks, but not the zip drive.
We're sure you can either dream up or have been all too awake for your own nightmare scenarios. And the bad news is we're too late to fix the old ones.
But there is possibly one relatively easy way to avoid ever finding yourself in such predicaments to begin with. Back up all your data, not at home, but on your own web drive.
Now, there are lots of services on the web that provide you with what you can think of as a giant hard drive in cyberspace. You copy your files to it, and as long as you have web access, you have access to those files. Of course, you need the appropriate application on the machine you're using. I mean, you can't open a Microsoft Word file from the web unless you've got something like Microsoft Word.
Yeah, but at least with a web drive, you don't need to carry around extra zip drives or floppies. And better, you can get just as much, if not more, storage for free. I mean, you can get anywhere from 10 to 100 megabytes, and these services store any files you happen to have. Documents, presentations, MP3 files, photos, you name it.
Yeah, and up to a point, these sites all pretty much work the same way. You upload your files, they're stored on a password-protected website that you can access from a web page, and most sites will let you give other people access to the files if you like, or even make them public in general so anyone can see them, or keep others private and for your eyes only.
But some of these sites do not make uploading files all that quick and easy. I mean, when you're copying files from your hard disk to a floppy or to a zip drive, all you gotta do is select the ones you want, you hold down the shift key, and you drag the whole bunch over. I mean, it's easy to do. With a lot of these backup sites, you have to upload files one at a time. And if you have 25 megabytes of files to upload, you better get comfortable, baby, because you're going to be busy for a while.
Well, yeah, and if you try to do it from one of those slow connections from your hotel, you're going to be busy for a week.
I think that one that probably handles the uploading and downloading the best is one called X Drive. Now, that gives you 50 megabytes of storage space for free. And with X Drive, you can download some of its software, which essentially makes your web drive just another drive on your system. You know, just like your A drive is for floppies, D or E is for CD-ROM or zip drive, whatever. So long as you're online, you can drag and drop folders from your hard drive to your X drive and vice versa. Even with my pokey dial-up connection, the transfer speed was pretty speedy. I was impressed.
Yeah, and if they're using the latest operating systems, Mac users have access to something called iDisk, which is similar, but I think even simpler to use and really well integrated with the Mac. But the question I keep wondering about is whether it's safe to keep all my files on the web. I mean, all these sites are password protected, but in general, the data is not encrypted, so some kid at the website conceivably could read it. I don't think I'd put state secrets up there. And the other thing is these sites don't really come with software that just backs up the data on your machine at one go. For that, I recommend something called Connected Online Backup, which unfortunately is not free.
But of course, these things do come with their own potential nightmare. You can't get at your data if you can't get a reliable web connection.
Yeah, if only there were a backup for that. And now, with a few files of his own, Walt Mossberg.
One of the great questions in the computer world today is what kind of PC should your kid take to college? A Windows machine or a Mac? A desktop or a laptop? A powerful high-end model or a modest basic setup? Well, there's no one-size-fits-all answer to this dilemma. But here's some advice from a father of 2 college students who are costing him an arm and a leg. First, the Windows versus Mac debate. Most colleges support both flavors of PC. If your chosen college strongly prefers one or the other, and your offspring can handle that type of machine, go with the flow. On the other hand, if your little scholar is deeply used to, say, Windows, and the college doesn't care, then send her off with what she knows. Second, the how much is enough question. If you can afford it, don't pack them off with a bare-bones system. You'll only have to pay for upgrades later. But I wouldn't foot the bill for every luxury feature either. You don't have to buy the fastest processor, but you should include plenty of memory, a networking card, and a recordable CD drive for backing up data and making music CDs, which is a favorite campus pastime. Third, and most confusing, is the desktop versus laptop choice. Lots of families think a laptop is a great idea. Their reasoning is that it takes up less space in cramped dorm rooms, is easier to bring home on vacation, and can be carried to class for taking notes. All of that is true, but I sent my kids off with desktop PCs for several reasons. For one thing, laptops are much more expensive than comparably powered desktops. They're also much more likely to be stolen or to be dropped and broken, and they're much harder and more expensive to repair and to upgrade with, say, more memory or a bigger hard disk. Also, I don't buy the laptop in class theory. Battery life is short, and most inexpensive laptops are heavy. Unless the campus has wired all its classrooms with electrical outlets, I doubt your kid will be lugging her computer to class after the first semester. Most colleges offer paper and pens for note-taking in class. If the young scholar really wants to take notes digitally, it's cheaper and better to send them off with a desktop PC and a Palm handheld computer. They can take notes on the little Palm with its long battery life and then transfer the notes to the PC later with the push of a button. The Palm doesn't need an electrical outlet, and if it's stolen or lost, you're only out $150. So, unless the college insists on a laptop, I'd send the kids to campus with a mid-range desktop of the type they're already used to. You don't need more problems or more bills than higher education is already inflicting on you.
Well, it's time to open up the old mailbag again and award a crummy old prize from the PR Piñata.
Yeah, we'll spare our regular viewers the explanation, so if you don't know what it is, check out our website.
Michael H. of West Hollywood, California writes, I'm considering getting a DSL line. What are the advantages of DSL over other kinds of internet connections?
Well, Michael, right now you probably have a 56K dial-up modem, the fastest kind available. When it dials your internet provider, you wait a minute or so, log in, and get the web over the phone at less than 52 kilobits per second. Don't ask. But with high-speed service, there's no need to dial up. If your computer's on, it's online, and the connection is faster, lots faster.
Now, there are two main high-speed connections for folks at home, cable and DSL or digital subscriber line. So what are the differences? Well, the setup for starters, cable modems hook up to your TV cable and you buy the service from your cable company. DSL modems connect to your phone line, service courtesy of your local phone company or some third-party provider.
And these speed claims and prices are really all over the map. I mean, with cable, they don't even give you a guarantee, but typically you can get up to about 5 megabits per second, which is about 100 times as fast as with the 56K modem, and the cost per month is generally about $50. With DSL, the cheapest plan is usually around $40 a month, and you'll get about 320K per second. But if you're a big spender and you're willing to pay like $200 a month, you can get 10 times more than that.
Right, or not. I mean, there's often a gap between the claimed and actual speed. I mean, with cable modem service, your computer is connected to a network in your neighborhood, and that can mean traffic jams, as you well know, when everyone decides to serve at the same time. As a DSL customer, you get your own dedicated line, which you can use to talk on the phone and serve at the same time, but once your bits reach the phone company, they're all flushed into the same pipe along with everyone else's, and that can end up slowing you down too. And the real bottleneck is often at the server that sends you the data, and you can't do anything about improving that.
So which one should you get? Well, you may have no choice or just one. For cable, the cable has to run near your house, and the company has to provision it for internet service. Now that works for me. For DSL, you have to live closer than 3 miles from your phone company's closest central office, and there are other restrictions, so you have to call a provider and see if you really qualify, and I don't.
Well, even if you're close enough, quality and reliability may be another reason to think twice about signing up. But know this, much of the web's content is still designed for dial-up users, and moreover, high-speed internet access ain't going anywhere. There's plenty of time to jump on the bandwidth wagon. You just might want to wait until the roads are better paved.
And for having your email read on the air, Michael H., you win this charmless computer-shaped desk clock. Now you can time how long it takes you to get your DSL set up.
You too could be a winner of a pathetic PR Piñata prize. Send us an email question, comment, suggestion, praise, or criticism. But remember, no technical support questions, please. For those, call the manufacturer's technical support line and tell them the duo sent you.
And the winner is you, the long-suffering user of personal technology.
That's because we're giving away our own awards to winners and losers in the high-tech business. We call them
the Digital Duo Save and Delete Awards. Anyway, that's what we're calling them for now, but if you come up with a better name, we'll use that.
Now, for now, this is what the coveted prize will look like, but that may change too.
We want to acknowledge the truly great and the truly terrible in the world of personal technology, but we need your help. So visit a special awards section on our website.
And tell us your saves and deletes. Suggest categories like worst technical support. Recommend websites that serve you well and diss the ones that do you dirt. We need to hear from you.
But remember, we make the final calls. Stuffing the ballot box won't help because there is no ballot box.
And if you're the first with a great idea, you may win a very nice trophy or something a whole lot worse. So visit the Digital Duo website and nominate your heroes and your goats. And someday soon you may hear us saying something like,
the winner for most annoying cartoon character in Office software is, may I have the envelope, please? So, what do we think of this week's stuff, or I guess I should say e-stuff, like expert sites?
Well, I had the best experience with Expert Central, so I will save it. I mean, the people on the other end of the mojo wire were responsive and thorough, but I will definitely delete no post. It was too chaotic. The others are kind of a toss-up, and I wouldn't want to ask any of them a truly critical question.
Well, I think I've honestly got too little experience with these sites to make any official recommendation, but of the ones I've looked at, I found Expert Central definitely the best organized, and it's free. But I've got a piece of advice for a lot of those experts. Poor spelling and grammar in your descriptions make you look like an ignorant bozo. You know, I feel better now.
Elitist snob. Online party planning.
Well, I've been the recipient of some of those invitations, and as I said, I haven't been offended. But as you pointed out, I think you can't assume that everybody you know looks at email every minute of the day like we do. Still, I think for big gatherings and, you know, for some little ones, they're probably a save.
Well, I would definitely delete them for intimate get-togethers or for events where the role of host clearly means 1 or 2 people, and that includes a wedding.
Quelle surprise.
Yeah, well, in that context, e-party planning is just tacky and rude. But I can see where they might be useful for like an organizational kind of potluck event. Probably maybe save them in that case.
Okay, web drives.
Save. Free backup on the web means being able to get to your files anywhere, and anything that saves me money or offers me convenience is a good deal to me. I mean, having said that though, my favorites are X Drive if you want the easiest uploading experience, and iDrive if you're going to do a lot of file sharing.
Yeah, I think these are a save, and particularly if you have high-speed access and you can send megabytes in seconds.
I'm Susan Gregory Thomas.
I'm Steve Manis.
We're 2 analog people
In a digital world. See you next time.
Digital Duo is brought to you by...
For when life turns digital. J&R Music and Computer World, home of over 300,000 consumer electronics, computer, and home entertainment products.
E-Trade is a proud sponsor of Digital Duo,